Hey people, it's Sleepy Reader, aka Damien. Comic book countdown again. My comic book thoughts shaped by this subjective list, kind of my comic book diary. I just like to keep doing it. And I got 11 comics this past Wednesday, and it was a middling week. Everything was fine, nothing was horrible. Nothing blew my socks off and said these are proof that comics are the most brilliant thing in the world. But comics are the most brilliant thing in the world. Apparently it's 109 degrees out. I've been inside all day, and I just thought I'd come out for a little while, see how long I last, and shoot this video. Because apparently I enjoy doing this in my backyard. Especially when it's hot and there's no one else outside. So, and we also had a, I guess, maybe what they call a rolling blackout or something. So we had no electricity for about an hour and a half. But our house didn't get too hot before the electricity came back on. So, and we're very blessed that we have pretty good central air conditioning in my house. I worry about some of the people around here in our city and area. But hopefully that all turns out okay. So, in at number 11 for me was this very thin but square-bound Wonder Woman Black and Gold. I was curious, some of the artists on the list, Ryan Sook, Amy Reeder, Becky Cloonan, really caught my eye. But I can't even remember these stories now. So short stories are really hard to do, and this was good proof that that's the case. There was definitely some cool art. I think the black, white, and yellow theme is maybe not the best. I guess because, red and blue were already taken by Superman, I suppose. But I don't know. It did work nicely in the Ryan Sook one. He used a lot of grayscale and maybe took most advantage of what is essentially a black and white art. So that stands out in my memory. Usually I'm a huge fan of Becky Cloonan, but I didn't get much out of her story. I can't even remember what any of these short stories were about. I really do appreciate when someone does good short stories, because I think that is an incredible art. And actually my number 10 book, in a similar vein, this is 2 short stories about the old guard, and neither one really stuck with me, although there was some fantastic art. I really liked the Brian Avon Oming art in the first story, written by Mr. Bendis, Brian Michael Bendis. The Brian Michael Bendis writing here did not work for me a whole lot. I'm trying to remember now what the theme of this was. It was basically our main member of the old guard. What's her name? I should just know her name by heart, and I don't. Okay. Why don't they say her name out loud? She's too cool for us to tell you her name. Anyway, she comes and meets someone she rescued as a boy, I guess during World War II or World War I, and now he's an old man, and she still looks like a teenage girl, at least the way they draw it here, and was supposed to have some strong emotional feelings, and it just didn't for me. And then the second piece, I like the writing a little better, but I can't remember much. It's 2 members of the old guard go and kill a bad guy, some cop who was covering up for a child killer or kidnapper or something like that. I can't remember now. So I don't know. Again, I think I've said before, the one problem is the sense that we just want to say how great these people in the old guard are. But what they are is immortal mercenaries. And so I would think there's a lot more gray area to them, or should be a lot more gray area to them. But the main problem was neither writer had a whole lot to say or give us in a short story. Black Hammer Reborn, I'm putting in at number 9. This was perfectly fine, but my interest in Black Hammer was not revived by this. We're given a world where Black Hammer's daughter took over for him for a while, and then decided to retire and quote, just be a mom and a wife, and have a job. And there were some nice touches, like her relationship with her husband was interesting, and I don't know. It's interesting enough. It's the kind of thing I might pick up if I feel like I just don't have enough books to read, or I might, read it digitally as a trade someday or something like that. But for the most part, Black Hammer's done all the great stuff it needs to do. Is it promising that there's wind during a heat wave? I don't know, because it's supposed to be just as hot tomorrow, and it's supposed to only go down a few degrees for the rest of the week. In at number 8 was Good Luck number 1. Boom has kind of become the company that, a smart reader might want to try a lot of their number 1s and just see if there's something you want to follow. And Good Luck was interesting. I respect it as a comic book, but I don't think I'll be picking up more comics. There's been, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but there's been kind of a trend in artwork for a certain kind of coloring and a certain kind of look, where the coloring is very strong and it looks a bit like cells out of an animation. And this one had that look, but it did it much better for me than some of the other ones. So I really kind of enjoyed the look of the art in here, and it portrayed action very well. Let's see who the artist is. Stefano Simone or Simeone, and must have done her own colors, or his own colors. Stefano, I guess that's a man, probably. So the reason why I probably wouldn't jump on this is I had trouble understanding at all how this luck thing worked. It was a cool idea that there's these zones of luck and gods of luck, but then there's these characters who have no luck at all, and that makes them good for sending on some kind of suicide mission or something. They're a bunch of kids, and I just didn't click with me what's really going on. And on top of that, maybe the individual characters of the kids didn't stand out enough for me. I feel like I heard someone compare this to Ender's Game, and I can see that comparison a little bit in terms of kids being used by some system and trained and everything like that. So it may turn out to be a very interesting book, and maybe, if I hear a lot of other people talk about it as it goes on, I could pick back up on it. In at number 7, I put Gamma Flight, which I picked up because I'm such a fan of the Immortal Hulk, and these are characters from the Immortal Hulk, kind of a spin-off comic. The perfectly workmanlike artwork was kind of a disappointment for me, just because I've been so spoiled by the art in the Immortal Hulk, and I didn't see, they're on the run. So it's a bunch of characters that we already know, and they're on the run. So I kind of enjoyed it, but I didn't see the compelling reason of why to buy this book. But I probably will continue to read it for a while longer and see where it goes. It's got co-writers of Al Ewing and Crystal Frazier. I've got to wonder if it's Al Ewing is involved in some of the plotting and ideas, perhaps, and then Crystal Frazier does the real bulk of the writing. And I don't know who Crystal Frazier is, and the pace of the story and everything just does not have that feel that it did from Immortal Hulk. So, I mean, I like the book. I'm not giving it a super high ranking at number 7. Blue Flame surprised me. I put this at number 6. I was not a huge fan of the first issue, but it got a lot more interesting in this issue. We got 2 versions of Blue Flame. One having this kind of cosmic adventure where he is being asked to be the stand-in for all of humanity while this group of worlds, this sort of united front of worlds, decides whether to destroy Earth or have Earth join their confederation. And that was interesting and played out in an interesting way. And then on the other hand, he's more of this sort of almost joke of a vigilante who was killed or almost killed, and is in the hospital in after a a mass shooting. Someone with a gun came and shot a lot of people. So it's interesting. I'm going to keep my eye on Blue Flame. I'm not sure whether I want to stick with it or not, but I definitely enjoyed this issue. And that's an interesting cover. Yeah, I like that cover. Is it a variant? It might have been a variant. I don't know. In at number 5 for me was I'm starting to get really hot. You come outside, you're sitting still, you think, I can handle this heat. But I am starting to feel like I'm baking. The Waking Hours, The Dreaming, written by G. Willow Wilson, great art by Nick Robles and his colorist or her colorist, their colorist, and the credits are at the back in these books, aren't they? Art by Nick Robles and M.K. Perker, colors by 2 different colorists. But anyway, it's been a fun ride with the mix of The Dreaming and Fairy and what are these bad guys called? I can't remember now. It's been fun. It's still not as good as it was in its first arc, and I think there's just one more issue to go. But I'm glad I've been reading The Dreaming, and I have trades of the original The Dreaming series by Simon Spurrier. I still need to read those. Okay, up at number 4 is this kind of sci-fi romp, Beck Star. And interesting back cover. They developed the characters really well and made them really fun in the first issue, and we're kind of coasting a bit in terms of characterization in this issue and having more adventure. But it was quite fun and enjoyable, but the art kind of got more and more cartoony with less detail in the background as it continued throughout the issue, like maybe the artist ran out of time to put in as much. So let's see. At the beginning, maybe the colorist too. At the beginning of the issue, it just seemed a little fuller. It has some kind of, cartoony look to the faces and everything. So I'm a little less excited by it than I was with the first issue, but I'll definitely read the next issue and see where it's going. This is from Mad Cave. It may be the only Mad Cave comic I've ever read, and I don't know how many issues are planned. If it's just going to be 4 issues, I'll definitely stick with it the whole way through. If it's an ongoing or 12 issues, I'll just be judging issue by issue. Okay, and then these last 3 I really liked a lot. Whew, I've started this, so I got to finish it, right? Mr. Miracle, The Source of Freedom. I think I liked the first issue, and I thought there was some interesting sort of use of the metaphorical nature of Mr. Miracle, that started with Scott Free in the Jack Kirby series as a kind of escapee from a hellish Holocaust kind of world, and now we have the metaphor of the black man in our world behind the mask. What is revealed here, what I didn't pick up in the first issue, is this must be a different version of Earth. This is not the Earth where there was a Scott-Free and a Big Barda, and perhaps, I don't know, all the other trappings of the new gods and stuff. So now when someone comes and is talking about Scott-Free and Big Barda, our new Mr. Miracle has no idea who they are. But he does have a mother box. So that's interesting and intriguing, and I'm not sure how it will all work out. This daughter of Scott-Free and Big Barda, I don't think exists in the regular Mr. Miracle universe either. So it's almost like we're having two different universes that Mr. Miracle lore resides in collide, but neither of them are the one that I know as the main Mr. Miracle universe, if you get me there. But what was I going to say? But it is interesting, and it is interesting when this character, their daughter, talks about legacy. I wonder if that's poking a little fun at fans who want the legacy heroes and not have them replaced. The only weird thing that remains about this, and they play with the fact that he's kept his African Americanness a secret from the public, but now it's getting revealed in this issue possibly. And the only flaw in that, again, is just the way the artist draws his face under the mask, with the mask over it, and so distinctly showing his facial features, which are, pretty visually ones that are associated with African American faces, perhaps to an exaggerated extent. So anyway, I really like this comic, and I like the way it plays with issues of race and with multiple universes and the like. And although the art is a little overdone for me, I think it's also the artist's work is growing on me too, the energy of it. Okay, I am ranking Vinyl quite high at number 2. I love the art. I love the color. Dave Stewart doing stuff that's a little different than what you associate with Dave Stewart, but doing an excellent job, giving us a lot of bright and vivid colors and just making each page a pleasure to look at. And the artist, Hilliard, is also, a very pleasing, slightly cartoony artist. I couldn't tell you, I'm not sure what this story is about. And I read it twice. And I enjoyed reading it each time, but I'm still not quite sure. It seems like there's a retired FBI agent who's helping track a serial killer, and then he is kidnapped by a cult that his daughter joined, who want to torture him or kill him, and there's something about forced marriages going on. And the serial killer that he's been tracking is possibly saving him from this cult. We'll see how this goes, or how far it goes. And, there's a theme of the serial killer likes vinyl records and perhaps plays vinyl music while he kills people. And he is quite insane in a kind of entertaining way. Kind of weird to say that about a serial killer, but the way he's presented here, I really don't understand the cult and what they're about. And I guess this is the same crew that once did this series Plastic, which I remember like years ago people on YouTube talking about and making it sound really wacky and crazy, and I never really looked into it. But I'm thinking now, having enjoyed this issue, that I might look for Plastic. Maybe there's a free digital version on Hoopla, or I'll look into other ways to get it. Give it a shot. And then I really, much to my surprise, because I did not like the first issue, at number 1, I am ranking at number 1, Fantastic Four Life Story, issue number 2, written by Mark Russell, art by Sean Izaakse. And I liked Sean Izaakse's artwork better here. It improved, or I got used to it. I think it improved over the first issue. It's still kind of a generic illustration style that seems popular at Marvel, but it seemed to be more detailed and do better work with the characters. And this weaves a fun story of Reed Richards working with Victor Von Doom, together sharing the obsession that this creature called Galactus is going to come to Earth eventually. So these life stories, or at least the way Mark Russell's doing it, is kind of a remix of all the elements of the Fantastic Four. And I thought he did a really horrible job in the first issue with the relationship between Ben and Reed Richards, and generally just didn't do much exciting stuff in the remix. But here, along with the Victor Von Doom relationship, which is done really interestingly, is also a really interesting theme of Sue Richards being made invisible and not included, which really did happen in the Stan Lee days. And there are even people theorizing that every time Jack Kirby would draw her having more excitement to do, Stan would write it so that she was weaker and needing the men to protect her and stuff. And then in the 70s, the younger writers who took over from Stan Lee played around a lot with Sue threatening to divorce Reed. And in this, we carry through with that. And I thought that Mark Russell weaved these elements in beautifully. So I look forward to seeing where they go in the 80s, because they end the 70s, spoiler here, with Sue having left Reed, divorced her. The Thing moves in. Reed and the Thing are living together like the Odd Couple, and Sue is off living with Namor the Submariner. And we hear from someone who is obviously what's his famous name? The guy who did Cosmos, Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan is in the story, and at the end of the story, we hear from Carl Sagan, something big is coming towards Earth. So I guess in the 80s, we'll perhaps actually get the invasion of Galactus, and I'm looking forward to that. So that was really fun. And in fact, this led me to pick up another Mark Russell book, a one-shot Mark Russell did about Captain America and the Mad Bomb during the Marvel Snapshots, and I thought that was really good. I talked about that on LahRasa's channel when we did the Hangout earlier this Sunday. Maybe I'll put a link to that below. The power went out in our house right in the middle of that Hangout, so I was only in about half of it. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I made it through 24 minutes in the heat, and I hope you're all having fun reading your comics, and I will talk to you again soon.